Welcome to Cooking with Me with Rob, that's me. I'm very, very excited to have you with me today because today Disney, or a different day, I don't know what day it was, Disney announced a new recipe. So today we are making beignets. I think that's how you say it. They're basically little Mickey Mouse shaped kind of donuts. You find them in Disney World at Port Orleans French Quarter. Now, me and the family have been to Port Orleans, but we have not been to the French Quarter, so we have not been able to have beignets. But I am going to make them today, and they're going to be just as good, if not better, than Disney makes them. All right, so let's get right into it. We're already going to start off differently than Disney because Disney just likes to make this wet mix craziness, but I like using instant yeast. So we're going to make a dry mix first. Very, very important. Tip number 1 for your dry mix, folks. Put your flour in first. So you're going to need 4 cups of flour. One. 4 cups of flour. All right. And the reason we want to stick our yeast in on top of the flour is that so we don't blow it. Because maybe you'll end up with a little bit of yeast at the bottom, and you don't want that. Maybe you're not a diligent mixer like I am. Maybe you don't mix vigorously or care about things like homogeneity like I do. And if that's the case, then you make sure that you stick your You stick your yeast on top like this. Okay, here's a very important thing, people. If you're going to look up the Disney recipe, you need to know that they're big liars. So what they tell you to do is put in a half a teaspoon of yeast, but don't do that because you won't have yeast enough for your beignets, and you need to actually stick in a half of a tablespoon of yeast. And like I said, I like to use instant yeast. Okay, then we are going to stick in 1/4 of a cup of sugar, or azúcar, as they like to say in other languages. Put in that 1/4 cup of sugar. And then, for the last part of our dry mix, people, we're going to stick in a half a teaspoon of salt. And now I'm just going to go grab the whisk because the production team didn't get one ready for me. And we're just going to mix that all together. Look at that. Yeah. The fine baker believes in things like homogeneity and vigorous stirring. Yeah, you got to put your own flavor on things when you're a baker. It's like a signature. Put your own style in. All right. And now we have a very nicely mixed, dry thing. What we need to do now is add in our wet ingredients. We need for our wet ingredients creme, oof, agua. And it calls for shortening, but you know me, I like to use margarine. Okay, so we're going to first pop in the egg with the old one-handed egg crack. Dungelina Jolie. Okay, that's in there. We're going to need, I'm sorry. Good thing we can use the magic of video and cut that junk out. We need a half a cup of cream. Remember, this is for liquids only. Somebody was playing a prank on me. That's fun. We're jokers around here at Cooking with me with Rob, that's me. And you know what? When you make messes on the table, good for you. Here's a tip. If you think you're awesome at holding it, you're not. So go down and look. Is that half a cup? Yes, it's half a cup. We're good to go. All right, we've got that in. Now, it calls for that shortening craziness, but we need 2 tablespoons of margarine. Yes. And you know what? Just a little extra for the possible stuff that flew out. Okay, now the final bit of our wet ingredients is the wettest of it all. So here I'm going to throw in some warm water. Okay, we need a 1/4 cup of warm water. This must be a Canadian thing because it puts it on the wrong side. This would have been so much easier just to use that 1/4 cup thing that you use for dry ingredients. Okay, 1/4 cup. Now we're going to mix this together a little bit because we actually have to add in some more. We have to add in some more water because it calls for boiling water. See, now what we've done here is we have dealt with the fact that we used instant yeast. If we had used yeasty yeast, what would have happened would have been that we would have needed to use just the 1/4 cup of warm water to proof it. But we are not doing that. Yet, we don't want to ruin our yeast. So what we are doing is kind of following the directions a little bit, but we're going to add in the boiling water, not quite as hot as normal, and later. Now we need a 1/2 cup of that. Don't burn me. Okay. And now, when you're making something like beignets, and because they're Disney, you should probably sing songs like, "Be our guest, put our service to the test. Tie your napkin around your neck, Shelly, and we'll provide the rest." Okay, now we're going to take this over to that other mixer, and we are going to mix it there. Okay, remember, you stick it in there, and then you just go poop. You don't need to say poop. That's kind of weird. This is the guy you want to use. I call it the claw. Up and in. Lift up this part so that it can actually mix. Start it out slow. Then speed it up. And then go for it. Ten was a little too much. Okay, we're back. And we have our dough. All right. My wife makes it look really difficult to put this mixer on and off, but it's not. It's the easiest thing in the whole universe. All right. So there we go. We have our dough all ready for our beignets, and we're going to let that rise for 30 minutes. And when we come back, we'll talk more. Okay, we're back. We let it rise for a little bit too long, but that's okay. Because do we go for perfection here? No. And look at how much it rose anyways. Not very much. But it smells like a delight. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to roll out our dough. So I like to have a little bit of flour around for this part because then it's not going to stick. We just throw a little bit on here, right? Just like so. We're going to grab our dough. Pop it on there. Just with our hands a little bit, we're going to do a little bit of that. Very important step is doing a little bit of that. I call it the stretchy. I don't call it that. That was dumb. Okay, so we just kind of roll it out a little bit like that, right? And I like a little more just because. My wife looks at me like I'm crazy putting that much flour on, but I really don't give a turd. Is that a bad word? Okay. We've got our roller. Again, I recommend cooler rollers than mine are, but if you can't, it's okay. We want it at about 1/4 inch. So that's about that kind of a thickness right there. Just have a look down there with the camera. Let's give it the old okay that that's at about 1/4 inch. And if it is, we're looking good. I'm really getting good at this. Okay, so before we cut these into their Mickey Mouse shapes, we're going to start. We are going to start our oil because our oil needs to heat up. Disney calls for like 3 inches of oil. But you know what? Let's not waste. Let's not do that. There's an oil shortage in the world probably. There's a shortage of everything. So let's just put in as much as we need. That is a reasonable amount. Because we're just going to flip it over anyways. So while that's heating up, we want to get that to about 350 degrees Fahrenheit. We'll just sort of make sure everything looks good over here. And what do you think? 1/4 inch? I think so. And now for the really great part. If you don't have one of these, you're not doing beignets right. You need Mickey cookie cutters for these beignets. And let's start making little Mickey shaped beignets. You want to get nice and close to the border of the other beignet because we want to try and use our space well. This is really the very, very fun part. And you know what? If you're a good parent, you might let your kids do this part because they have a lot of fun with this type of thing. No, you guys don't get to do this. Okay. I think I can get one more in here. Yes. All right. So now we're just going to try and gently pull it apart in places where it didn't quite come out. Look at that. Look at that. Do you guys love Mickey as much as I love Mickey? I love him. He's great. Okay, once I have all these pulled apart, we're going to take them over and we're going to fry them. Okay, we have our little Mickey heads all cut up. That sounded bad. We have our little Mickeys all prepared to eat. No, to cook. We're going to cook them first. We're going to put them in the oil. Then we're going to let them drip into paper towel. Then we're going to cover them in icing sugar. And then we're going to eat them. All right, so it's really warm. It's nice. We've turned down the heat a little bit. And we didn't use Disney's 3 inches suggestion because we thought that was kind of dumb. Now we just take them. And we go for it, people. Let's go for it. It's going to take about 2 minutes. Your hand might get destroyed in the process, but you know what, people? No pain, no delicious treats. Sometimes the work that you put into your delicious treats helps it to taste even that much better. If my hand is scalded, that just means that I really earned my beignet. But let's give that a flip over now just to see what it's feeling like. Because they say 2 minutes, but you know what? I just want to give it a quick little, yeah. Those look perfect, which I deduced on my own. They just fluff up so nicely. Look at that. Look at that. Let's just go for it all here, people. Did I need 3 inches of water here, folks? I mean, oil? I don't think I did. I think that I used my expertise baking skills and deduced from my very own brain that I only needed 1.5 inches or so. All right. Let's look at that. Let's just give it a flip. I'm talking maybe 30 seconds on each side here, folks. This is going to be a really good thing. We have our icing sugar that's just sitting there waiting, and we're going to do the and make it just the most beautiful, delicate, delightful treat you've ever had. Okay, look at those. Look at those. What delightful little nuggets of joy. That's what I call them anyways. Okay, so now we're going to do the last little step. We are going to ice them. If this gets onto your island, who gives? Who gives a rip? Because you're going to enjoy the flavor so much. And the truth of the matter is, it gives a nice little, almost Christmassy feel to it. You don't want to skimp on the icing, sugar. Oh, yes. 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 And one more time. Yes. I think there we have it. The most glorious, wonderful, joyful beignet. Children, it's time for beignets.
Okay. I'm going to take the extra in the middle. Oh, it's so good.
Beignet.